Hello everyone, this is part 6 of What If Naruto and Sakura Had a Kid, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. He's S. Ino's frenzied whisper interrupted Sakura's intensive jutsu scan. I thought so at first, Sakura admitted, but I can detect a faint heartbeat. She furrowed her brow in concentration. Could you wipe his face, Ino? Sakura asked, her heart still thundering inside her chest. I just want to make sure. Ino was swiftly at her side. She poured water into a towel, wiping the dried blood from the man's face. When she could fully see his facial features, she breathed a sigh of relief. It's just some kid, she whispered, silently thanking every god she could think of. But he's still a kid, Sakura seethed, a child. The boy could be no older than 13. He was tall for his age, but the lack of facial hair told her differently. His eyes were partially open. They were a soft aqua color, more similar in green to Sakura's. His hair was the same honey blonde as Naruto's. Sakura couldn't help but feel that this nearly S-boy could resemble her own child. He strangely looked like a combination of both Naruto and her. She averted her gaze. Ino could sense what Sakura was thinking. She softly cupped her palm over the boy's eyes, closing the lids. She quickly examined him, his muscles are shutting down. We have time. It does appear he was one of those who were poisoned. Sakura nodded, she had thought as much. I've seen this poison before. It's commonly used in pesticides. It starts by preventing the cells in your intestinal tract from properly absorbing a certain nutrient. That nutrient eventually becomes depleted in the body, causing the muscles to go into permanent state of non-contracture, she explained to Tenten and Shino. So, that means, what? Tenten asked, confused by the medical jargon. Shino didn't move a muscle in his face. If he is confused, he was much better at hiding it, Sakura thought. It means that the muscles stop working in the hands and feet, and slowly the rigidity spreads toward the body. Eventually, the muscles used for breathing will stop working, and heal less from oxygen deprivation. It's not the poison that is the problem, technically. The long-standing effects are the most detrimental, she tried to explain. That means, Ino grinned, that this is going to be a piece of cake once we find an antidote. Relief. These shinobi are just newbies, Ino thought gleefully. Well, not necessarily, Sakura warned. There could be permanent damage. Brain damage is of most importance. Ino, we need to work on antidote that restores muscle activity, most likely from mimicking the chemical messenger that is depleted. We can enhance nutrition after that, promoting nutrient absorption after the toxin is passed out of the body. The antidote should buy the victim time as the body rids itself of the poison. She was gesturing pointedly, something Sakura tended to do when she was teaching. Ino tried to envision the physiology. This was her weakness, agonistic antidotes. She wasn't even entirely sure what chemical Sakura was talking about. Sakura looked sadly at the boy before her. I can use some healing jutsu to restore some of his muscle activity, but we have to find the antidote. Soon. I can only temporarily provide nutrients for the muscles. That's the best our medical jutsu can do. She focused her chakra into her palms, the same technique she used for Obito's lungs. She helped stimulate the body's energy resources to direct some of that energy toward his breathing muscles, mainly his diaphragm. She could feel his heart picking up in pace, but it was a very faint change. Ino felt it too, her hands hovering next to Sakura's. She looked up to her preceptor in amazement. Part of her was discouraged that she couldn't be of more help. While she had trained under Sakura for years, there were still things she couldn't heal. Sakura saw the exasperation on Ino's face. She knew the blonde was feeling helpless, though she was a great medic. She attempted to lend her support. Don't worry, Ino. You will eventually understand it. It took me years to grasp all of this. Right now, we just need to find an antidote that mimics that chemical that is not being absorbed. Ino's mind was searching frantically for the possibilities. She hoped that Sakura was familiar with an antidote. She was becoming more frustrated by the minute. The pregnant woman's voice ruined her concentration. Ino, could you monitor his vitals? The blonde took over, while Sakura scrambled to her medical bag. She opened a scroll and activated the seal. A thick pamphlet appeared in her hand. Are those your notes? Tenten asked, astonished at the amount of writing that filled the pages. Sakura nodded, smiling to herself. How do you find what you're looking for? I have my own way of organizing my notes, the medic explained. She thumbed through the pages until she found the page she wanted. She read the instructions for the antidote. It consisted of a plant root that is unfamiliar to her. Perhaps Ino would have some botanical knowledge that would aid her. Ino, do you know what plant this is from? Sakura asked, carefully passing the page to Ino. The blonde quickly scanned the antidote. She wrinkled her brow in concentration. It quickly smoothed as her face broke into a smile. Yes, it's a root that grows in the shade of the trees that grow north of Konoha. The trees have heart-shaped leaves and white blooms this time of year. The plant grows at the tree's base. Sakura smiled in relief. Ino's knowledge of botany was amazing, as always. You're a saint. I couldn't have done that without you. Since you know what you're looking for, do you want go digging? I can finally be of help, Ino said, excited at the prospect. She rummaged in her bag for tools. She gathered a few jars, a hand shovel, and a knife before looking over the antidote instruction and ingredients once more. I think, Shino's smooth voice interrupted Ino's thoughts, that you should look in the direction which we came. Why? Because that would eliminate the possibility of being seen by any enemies that may be lurking in around here. Will do, Ino answered, before disappearing in the indicated direction. Sakura silently wished her a safe return. She reached into her bag, pulling out a larger scroll. It rivaled Tenten's massive weaponry scroll. She activated the seal with a flurry of hand motions. A plethora of vials appeared before her. Is that your whole inventory? Tenten asked in amazement. Actually, Sakura smirked, these jars hold the scrolls for my inventory. That's a lot of stuff for curing poisons, the brunette remarked. You're telling me. The medic huffed. It wasn't easy to surpass Tsunade. She opened a few jars, activating more seals. Soon, she was surrounded by a colorful array of utensils and powders. Once she had everything she needed, she closed her inventory, tucking the scroll neatly inside her medical bag. She began crushing various components into powders, mixing pastes, and stirring liquids. She had just finished mixing most of the antidote when Ino reappeared, carrying a few jars of the root that Sakura had asked her to retrieve. Ino crushed the root, straining the liquid into the antidote. The frothy liquid changed from a cloudy yellow to a clear lemon-colored fluid. Sakura sniffed the antidote's pungent odor, satisfied with the outcome. She took a dropper from her bag, drawing up a few milliliters of fluid. She handed the dropper to Ino. You do the honors. This wouldn't be possible without you. Me? Ino asked, unsure of her newfound role. Thank you, Sakura. She looked at Tenten and Shino, who both nodded confidently. She placed a hand under the boy's chin, carefully drawing his head upward. She pulled open his bottom lip, dropping a few drops into his mouth. She gingerly put his head back onto the ground. Now what? We wait for the antidote to act and pray that our assumption was correct. Sakura answered, quickly looking toward the paralyzed sound shinobi. I think our guest has awoken, if I'm reading his breathing pattern correctly. I hope you can refrain yourself from beating him to a pulp. Again, Tenten muttered. Not that she blamed Sakura. The kunoichi turned toward Shino, looking at his dark glasses. Shino, have you received any word from the hostage situation? I will have information momentarily. How? My Kikai are returning, he answered flatly. Sakura interrupted any further conversation. I think I know how we can get the information we need more quickly. Tenten raised an eyebrow. She had a feeling this was going to be good. Sakura looked to her blonde friend. It's your expertise that we are in need of now. Ino's eyes widened at what Sakura was inferring. It would be the easiest way, of course. She nodded her head, removing her gloves from her hands. Right, she said as she approached the enemy. Ino leaned into Shino and Tenten's supportive arms. It had taken a lot out of her to use her family's mind-reading technique. She had only become capable of it in the past 2 years. She slumped to the ground, as Sakura helped ease her exhaustion with a rejuvenating potion from her bag. The captive was again unconscious, as his jutsu was absorbed during Ino's reading. His breathing was slow and deep. Tenten Street USD the enemy for a few seconds, chewing her lower lip. Did you see anything? She inquired, crossing her arms over her chest. Ugh, more than I ever want to see again. He's a pig. Ino gagged. Sakura mouthed her apologies to her friend. She knew it was not something Ino enjoyed. Her father, of course, was the most astute at using such a SK. Did you get any information about where his comrades are located in the village? Or about how they are poisoning the villagers? The brunette Anbu rapidly fired questions. Oh, did I ever? Ino grinned weakly. I think we should discuss what information Ino had gathered before we send any information back to the Hokage, Shino suggested. Everyone nodded in agreement. Shino was interrupted by a beetle that was slowly fluttering its sleek, black wings on his shoulder. He gently prompted the tiny insect onto his forefinger, examining it closely. His face became tense in concentration as if the bug was speaking to him. Tenten watched in amazement. She had never seen him talk to his insects. What's it telling you? She whispered in awe. One moment, Shino answered softly. His brow was furrowed in concern, a frown marring his face. Ino, Sakura whispered, did you see him? I did, Ino confirmed truthfully. Sakura let out a sigh of relief, dropping her head in silent prayer. They have him restrained, it looks like they poisoned him. The pink-haired woman's head shot up in alarm, her eyes betraying her confined feelings. He caused a bit of chaos, Shino stated. They had threatened to kill a child, so he surrendered without a fight. He's managed to keep his QB contained. Quite a surprise for him. They subsequently poisoned him and the child. That child, he pointed toward the young boy Ino had treated earlier. Which means, Tenten began, that we can't wait for special ops. Sakura said, fear in her eyes. Sakura, we have to follow the Hokage's orders, Tenten argued. But he doesn't have much time. Not if he's been poisoned around the same time as the boy. She looked toward the young blonde boy. His breathing was becoming more apparent by the slight rise and fall of his chest. She suspected he would be fully conscious in a matter of hours. The antidote was a success. We are more than ready to help the villagers, she thought. Don't you think we know that? Tenten became defensive. We are worried about Naruto, too. But it's not the same. Sakura thought sadly. I'm not going to sit here, waiting for backup to arrive while he could be down there. She said vehemently. Are you okay with that, Tenten? Shino. Ino. All three avoided her accusing stare. They knew that Sakura was right, they couldn't let Naruto's life hang in the balance. Not when he saved them numerous times. It was Shino that spoke first. His voice was calm. I agree. Why? I think Sakura has a very valid argument. Naruto would do the same for us. Ino, please share what you saw in the enemy's mind. I'll tell you what my Kikai found, and we can devise a strategy from there. Shino spoke carefully, observing Sakura while he talked. Thank you, Shino, Sakura said, touched at his willingness to help. Tears began to form in her soft green eyes. Do not mention it. Why am I saying that? Because Naruto is our friend, too. We are here to help him. Besides, his normally stony face broke into a slight, unfamiliar smile. He has a child to care for. That's most important. I think even the Hokage would understand. Tenten was touched at the change in Shino's demeanor. She watched Sakura carefully. She really loves him, she thought. She sighed. This wasn't an argument she would win. I'll agree with Shino. Everyone turned to look at Tenten in surprise. Out of all of them, she was the least likely to go against protocol. Shino raised an eyebrow at her. What? She asked defensively. Can't I agree that Naruto would do the same for me? Her face reddened at the sudden attention. Sakura immediately hugged the brunette, whispering her thanks in Tenten's ear. The kunoichi was touched at the pregnant woman's emotional embrace. Why, you're welcome, Sakura. Don't mention it. She patted Sakura on the back, awkwardly. Ino, are you feeling ready to discuss your findings? Shino asked. Yes, Shino. But be warned, he's seriously a sicko. She answered. Tenten, do you want to inform the Hokage of the information gathered and let her know we are planning to go ahead and rescue the captives? Affirmative, Tenten replied. She began to organize her arsenal, opening her linked scroll. She began writing furiously. Sakura, Shino spoke, more softly this time. You will stay here and keep watch over that young civilian. Why? Because it's too much of a risk for both you and the baby. We are already taking a risk by going into the village without backup. Ino will dispense the antidote to those who have been poisoned. You will wait for word from us regarding the situation at hand. When it is safe, you may come and help with any medical issues. His tone conveyed the seriousness of his instructions. He was not asking for her cooperation, he was telling her. Sakura smiled sweetly. Yes, Shino. I understand. She carefully felt for the pills she had stored in her pocket. They were still intact. She had removed a few sedatives from one of her vials. She did not think that anyone had noticed her actions. But, from Shino's tone, she felt that he may suspect her motives. Had he seen me? She thought. No, I was careful, he was giving his insects orders at the time. As grateful as she was for her temporary team's assistance, she had no intention of sitting there while Naruto was in need of her help. She thought it was better if she didn't share that with them. For now. Shino nodded, as if satisfied by Sakura's answer. He did not trust that she would maintain her distance from the village, which is why he carefully created a protective perimeter with tagged kunai. They would alarm him if the perimeter was broken. He doubted that Sakura would know how to release the barrier, since her jutsu was more medically related, though she was proficient at taijutsu. Very few shinobi tended to put forth effort to learn defensive jutsu, and he thought that Sakura was not one of them. Regardless, he would be instantly notified if the perimeter was disrupted. He nodded his acceptance of Sakura's promise, turning his attention toward Ino. Ino, please begin. Shino stopped running, turning to look in the direction they had just traveled. Something wrong, Shino? Ino asked, as Tenten turned to see why the group had stopped running. Shino shook his head. No, nothing. My apologies. Something about his voice caused Tenten's eyes to linger on his face. She had a feeling he was not sharing everything. Sakura, I hope you know what you are getting yourself into, he thought. It's not just your life that you need to be concerned about. I'm going to remain behind. Why? I want to secure the perimeter. Tenten, you and Ino go ahead. Please use caution. We are anticipating a handful of these heathens, but are unsure of their level or SK, Shino cautioned the two women. They accepted his reasoning, disappearing ahead. He wanted to intercept Sakura before she got herself into any real danger. But, he didn't want to share that information with the other two jonin to keep them from worrying. Sakura breezed along her comrade's trail. She was a bit disappointed at the attempt to prevent her from leaving the camp. She couldn't blame them, as they were simply trying to protect her. But, she never suspected that they would put a barrier around the entire area. She had spent the first half of her pregnancy practicing various cancelling jutsus and other defensive seals to help her become more of an asset in battle. It was the aforementioned practice that aided her in easily escaping her confinement. She smirked at her victory. Sakura, 1, barrier, 0. She thought about the young boy that she left behind. She had crushed the sedatives, appropriately dosing it for the young child. That should buy her a few hours, so she told herself. The sound shinobi, however, was not so lucky. She left his body tied to a tree and overdosed on sedatives. That, she thought, would buy her a few days. She smiled at her newfound naughtiness. Anyone who could be so emotionally cold as to carelessly dump a child's body, leaving him for was not someone she would waste her concern on. She dodged the stray branches as she approached the village's outermost border. She planned to unobtrusively find where Naruto was being held captive. She would release and treat all of those affected by the poison. She was so lost in thought that she let her guard down. It wasn't until she was almost completely past Shino that she realized someone was standing against a tree, watching her. She stopped in her tracks, her back to the voyeur. She was breathing heavily from the exertion. The extra weight was finally taking its toll. Shino spoke, his voice monotonous. It is apparent that you are emotionally compromising this mission. Why do I say that? Because you have completely let your guard down. A shinobi should never let his or her guard down, no matter the circumstances. How did you know I was coming? She asked, shocked at his sudden appearance. Simple, I tracked you, he stonily replied. Sakura heard a buzzing in her ear. A small winged insect slowly disentangled itself from her hair, flying toward Shino. The tiny bug settled on his outstretched palm. How? I left him with you, he nodded toward the Kikai. I figured there was a small chance you would break my barrier. So it was you who set that damned barrier, she sighed. I must be predictable, she attempted to joke. Shino did not react to her poorly placed humor. His voice held some of its initial vehemence. You are willing to risk your mission, know your comrades for your own emotional goals. Tenten and Ino are more than capable of handling the current situation. In addition, you are also risking the life of your own child. Sakura let her eyes wander carefully over his face. She knew she was being irresponsible, but she could not allow anything to happen to Naruto. At least not while she capable of helping. She could never live with herself if anything happened to him, but how could she explain this to Shino? He was usually so reserved and stoic that she didn't think he could comprehend how she felt. She swallowed the lump in her tea. Shino. I am not finished, Sakura. Furthermore, you are placing yourself in danger. That alone causes me to question your ability to make decisions that are best for both you and your child. What if something happened to you? Who would raise the baby? Would Naruto be left to raise a child alone without a mother? Did you think of those scenarios, Sakura? His face was becoming more animated as he spoke. It was as if Shino was allowing his own emotions to surface, which was quite out of the ordinary for the normally calm Aburame. Sakura slowly breathed in the crisp air. She supposed that there was no other way around this. She pulled her cloak aside, lifting her shirt and exposing her swollen abdomen. She spoke softly, I had no intention of risking my own child's life, Shino. I have taken proper measures in case anything were to happen to me. She gestured toward her womb. She could see the shock register on the Aburame's face. He took a step toward her, his brow crinkled in surprise. You are capable of such a technique, he whispered. His voice was full of shock, awe, and fear. He eyed the small, distinct symbol that was evident on her taut skin, a mark of the seal as well as its intentions. Sunad, what have you promoted? He thought. She covered her stomach, blushing at her brief exposure. She had not shown her seal to anyone, not even Naruto. She had been storing chakra in the seal after linking it to the one she had placed on her unborn child. It was similar to Sunad's yin seal, but Sakura had found a way to release it upon extreme trauma to her body, ensuring that her child would continue to survive anything that may happen to its mother. She knew that if something were to happen to her, there was no way for the child would survive an early birth. Therefore this was her insurance of the child's survival. She stared into Shino's dark glasses. As you can see, I have no intention of allowing my child to rest. It will be able to survive with or without me. She gently rubbed her stomach. Shino chewed on his bottom lip, still disturbed at what Sakura was inferring. In those few moments, he developed a new respect for the soon-to-be mom. She had shown him a devotion that he had not known existed. She wanted to rescue her lover, while at the same time protect her child. It was something he was having difficulty comprehending. He spoke, his smooth voice louder than before. While it seems you have prepared for the possibility of anything happening to you, have you thought about what a life without you would be like for your child? You cannot possibly understand what it is like to grow up without a mother's love. I can tell you that it is no joy to never have the chance to meet the woman who gave you life. To feel her arms around you, holding you close and chasing away bad dreams. I cannot allow you to go anywhere near that village, Sakura. So that was it. Sakura suddenly realized. She had been aware of the passing of Shino's mother while he was in infancy. His fervent argument combined with this knowledge caused Sakura to momentarily understand the young Jonin. This unexpected emotional outburst was really due to his own struggle with being raised without a mother. Despite her brief understanding, she realized that there was no way to comprehensively explain her actions to Shino. She had to help save Naruto no matter the cost. She knew what she had to do. She took a step toward the Jonin, gazing up at him sadly. I'm sorry, Shino. I really am. I wish that you could have met your mother. Again, surprise registered on his porcelain face. I'm not inferring, he began. She raised her hand to silence him. She took another step toward him. She was inches away from where he was standing, looking down on the pregnant Jonin. I understand, Shino, I really do. I've seen the pain that it causes. You are absolutely right, you know. Before he could say anything more, she closed the gap between them, wrapping her slender arms around his neck. She was much too short, so she rested her head against his shoulder, pulling him into an embrace. From the way his body went rigid, she suspected that he was not used to the close contact. She hugged him more tightly. I'm sorry, Shino. I want you to know that I would do anything to protect this baby. But, I would also do anything to protect Naruto, she whispered, a tear sliding down her cheek as she imagined the void in Shino's life as a motherless child. She could feel his muscles slowly relax as his arms hung limply at his sides, unsure of how to respond to the embrace. I'm also sorry, Shino. I'm sorry for this, she began. She gathered chakra in her hands, forcing it into his body. She did not reabsorb the wasted energy as she felt his body becoming rigid, his muscles going into spasm. She used some of her strength to help lie him on the ground, away from the path. She remained kneeling next to his lifeless body. His dark glasses hid his eyes. I didn't want to have to do this. I know that you may not be able to forgive me, but I truly am sorry. I've only temporarily paralyzed you. It will last a few minutes, at the most. By the time you can move again, I'll be gone, she whispered, wiping the stray tear from her face. I know that it was difficult for you, and I do not want that for my child. I have no intention of entering into battle, I just want to make sure Naruto is safe. If he was poisoned around the same time as that child, then there's not much time left. I can't risk it. I love him, Shino. I could not live with myself if anything happened to him. I don't know if I could live without him. I trust that my child will be surrounded by love and laughter if anything should happen to me. I know my emotions are getting the better of me, and I struggle with that. I've always admired your ability to stay emotionally detached from any situation. I have always respected you, Shino. You are a strong Jonin and your mother would be proud of you, I can feel that. I know that you cannot possibly understand how I feel, but I wanted to share that with you. I've never shared that with anyone. Not even Naruto. And I thank you for your dedication in helping him, you are truly a great friend. I've always believed in you, she spoke softly as she stood upright, pulling the hood over her head. She smiled sadly at him, surprised by her own admission. I'm sorry, she repeated one last time before disappearing. She didn't see the tear that fell from behind Shino's dark glasses. Sakura regretted using her temporary paralysis technique on Shino, but she was left with no other option. He had no intention of allowing her to proceed to the village, so she acted on her own accord. She could hear explosions resounding from the village, pushing her to run more quickly. As she approached the outskirts of the tiny village, she launched herself onto a nearby roof. The tiles were slick beneath her feet, and she slowed to maintain her balance. As she leaped from one building to the next, she heard a familiar voice taunting the enemy. She spotted the kunoichi, pausing to watch Tenten dance amidst a cloud of swirling scrolls. Her large arsenal of weaponry surrounded her, as she effortlessly launched her weapons at the surrounding band of shinobi. Even 4-on-1, Tenten could easily decimate the small troop. As her weapons fell to the ground, a few new wave of sound ninja attempted to attack. What they didn't know was that Tenten was amply prepared for such a scenario. The brunette pulled the invisible chakra strings attached to her weapons, sealing the group's fate. When Sakura was satisfied that Tenten had the situation under control, she prepared to continue on her own mission. Something caught her eye. It was brief, but she was sure it was there, the sudden glint of light on metal. She turned toward the source, spotting a lone sound nin hiding in a nearby tree. He was silently and carefully stalking his prey. Tenten was unusually oblivious to the enemy, most likely overconfident from the ease at which she conquered his comrades. She was placing her scrolls into her pack as the shinobi prepared his vengeance. Sakura watched carefully, torn between finding Naruto and helping Tenten. She convinced herself that Tenten would be able to fend off any attack, and slowly began to slip away. A gnawing premonition urged her to look again. She keenly observed another ninja was in a nearby tree. Still, Tenten did not showing any sign of her awareness. Sakura's heart began to pound as she saw them slowly signal each other to attack the kunoichi in unison. When Sakura was sure that Tenten did not know of their whereabouts, she impulsively decided to act. She moved swiftly, readying herself for the impact as she lightly bounded off the roof. She silently landed on the soft ground, her knees jolting at the unexpected weight. She saw Tenten's eyes flicker recognition of her silent movement. The weapons master realized who it was by the wisps of pink hair that were caught in the wind. Her face showed her confusion as it changed to annoyance. She opened her mouth to speak as Sakura saw the two shinobi take advantage of her diverted attention. Sakura. Tenten, get down. She shrilly interrupted, taking a few steps toward the brunette. The wind knocked Sakura's hood away from her head. Her hair blew around her face wildly, giving her an aura of godliness for a brief moment. Tenten's eyes widened in awe. She had never seen the medic so commanding. She did not question Sakura's orders, immediately dropping onto the ground. Sakura wasted no time, swiftly lifting her arm and taking aim. In one fluid motion, she lifted her sleeve to reveal an odd-looking contraption on her right wrist. With the flick of her finger, she released the device, sending a line of senbon flying over Tenten's prostrate body. The needles connected with their intended targets, hitting their chests with a sickening sound. The sound nin took a few more steps before falling to their knees. In a few short moments, they were no longer breathing. What the hell? Tenten huffed, looking at the two ninjas as she began to stand. I didn't see them. How did you? She trailed off, staring in disbelief. She eyed the device on Sakura's wrist, as the pink-haired medic quickly reloaded it with a new round of sly needles. I was passing by, and I saw them in the trees, Sakura explained. It's not that I didn't think you were capable, it was that you would not have expected it. They were cowards, she spat. Sakura, thank you, Tenten flushed. I may not have been alive right now if it weren't for you. But, that doesn't excuse the fact that you shouldn't be here. She looked hesitantly at the two ninja, embarrassed at her own vulnerability as a member of Anbu. She had trained meticulously for years, and had almost lost her life to this. She looked to Sakura. How did you, senbon? Again, she was amazed that Sakura could use the simple tools so elegantly, turning them into sly weapons. Poison? She asked in awe. Sakura nodded. Yes, instant death. I don't prefer king, so I only use it for emergencies. And this was an emergency. She held up her arm, showing the device. It's Shizune's, actually. Well, it's modeled off of hers. Quite convenient, she said, examining the device on her own forearm. It was her rendition of the older medic's prepared needle shot. I'll say, Tenten agreed. She looked around. Where's Shino? She asked cautiously. Sakura shook her head. No idea. Not entirely a lie, she thought. Her thoughts returned to her original mission, as her face quickly showed her panic. Naruto. She looked around frantically, attempting to orient herself. Tenten immediately understood. Far northeastern corner of the village. That way, she pointed. Ino went that way earlier. To find him. Apparently the front door is barricaded, she explained. Sakura turned in the indicated direction, but was interrupted by Tenten. Sakura, thank you, she gestured toward the two poisoned ninjas. And please be careful, we don't know how many more of them are lurking nearby. Sakura nodded her understanding, pulling her hood over her messy pink locks. She swiftly disappeared. This time, she omitted the rooftop sightseeing. The building was not far from her current location, she just hoped she could make it in time. Naruto, don't you dare give up on me. She thought furiously. She pushed herself to run faster. She would reach him in time. She would. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.